While we were streaming the Monday Ramble live, someone pointed out to me that Kromlech have got a few new tasty treats in the form of some Tau proxies and some Imperial Guard proxies, and it just devolved into looking at amazing four-legged walking tanks, and you need to see them too, because I absolutely want at least 3 of one of them. Before we get into it, thank you very much to JCraft for becoming a channel member once more. If you want to see videos early and if you want to have access to behind the scenes stuff, then you can do so through YouTube channel memberships or Patreon. It's an option if you're looking for a little bit extra. Now, on to the mad creations of Kromlech, and you can probably tell straight away that I quite like these. So we have the Banshee rocket walking tank, the Kraken transport walking tank, the Tartarus artillery walking tank, and the Gargoyle flamer walking tank. And just straight off, this is a yes. This is a yes, and I'm 100% in. I don't know why you would do it. I mean, I suppose I say that, you know, AdMech already have walking tanks. That's not fair. We already have walking tanks. But the thing is, it really feels like it actually works. There's like an aesthetic here that I'm fully on board with, and I can't quite work out exactly why. Because on paper, it just sort of, if you said to me, yeah, we're going to stick like big legs on a Chimera-esque chassis, I would go, okay, that might be okay. But you know what? The execution of it, I actually really like it. I really like it. It's properly throwing me seeing that double-headed eagle everywhere. It really is. This is genuinely really cool. Why do I like this so much? Maybe it's because the legs are so chunky, right? The legs are massively chunky. There's so much girth. There's just so much girth on the legs. The armor plating that comes down over what the shin kind of is. I mean, the fact that it's also basically a Manticore / Deathstrike is incredible. Like, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. The fact that you've got, like, just this big, like, rocket battery on the back is awesome. Also, I like the way they painted it too. So, all resin, yeah, okay. Doesn't look too complicated either, actually. Those legs are so good. They're so good, though. I do like that little setup they've got there. That little, the nice photographs they've got. Oh, put a bit of sound on one of the legs. Really sell it. Yeah, no, I actually really like it. Okay, so the Banshee is a win. The Banshee rocket walking tank is a win. The Kraken, okay. I mean, it's obviously the same chassis, but then you've got the turret on top and then you've got the las guns out the side because it's basically a Chimera on legs. It's just a Chimera on legs. That's all it is. I mean, it's not all it is. It does actually have some nice visual differences. The hull is very similar, but it's swapped around, if I remember correctly. So the gun is on the opposite side to where it normally would be, and the viewing port is switched as well. It's also got a bit more detail. There's more like rivets on it, which I quite like. There is definitely an element of frog. There's definitely an element of frog going on here. But you know what? I'm not against that. I actually quite like the element of frog that is happening with this. That's actually kind of cool. I'm happy with that. I really like these. Okay. And also the way that the las guns are placed on the back, like they're all little miniature turrets of their own. That's cooler than what a Chimera has, in my opinion. I assume it's got to squat down a little bit so that they get out without breaking an ankle, because otherwise that could go badly wrong. But yeah, I like it. I'm really liking these. Oh no, they're silly, but in a really good way. Like they are definitely silly, but in a really good way. And like I was going to say the footprint of them, but that sounds like I'm making a joke. It makes it just sound like I'm doing a bad pun. But I do like the footprint of it. It's like a good sized vehicle. Multiple options for the turret weapon, of course. Okay. So, the Kraken transport. It's also a win. The Tartarus artillery. Oh. How stable are those legs? Just out of interest. Just out of interest, how stable are the legs? Because I feel like the legs need to be pretty damn stable, right? I feel like the legs need to be pretty damn stable for firing the giant gun on its back. But at the same time, again, it's not a no from me. It's not a no. I actually... I think this might be my favourite of all of them. For some reason, this is really getting me, this one. I'm loving this. This is fantastic. This is the best one. Hell yes. It's so absurd, but it's so good. Especially now, like, in the kind of squat position they've put it in. That is amazing. Oh, wow. Oh, God, I want one. I want one so bad. That's great. That's great. The Banshee, okay, let's be honest here. So the Banshee's great. We like the Banshee. The Banshee is decent. The Banshee's cool. But it's not as cool as the Tartarus. Like, the Tartarus is just objectively the best one so far. It's just the best one so far. The silhouette of it is so good. It just looks great. Oh man, I need it in my life. Okay, we approve of the Tartarus. So should we rank? We rank them. So the Tartarus, I think the Tartarus is number 1 so far. Actually, I would argue that the Kraken, I would suggest that for me, I think probably Tartarus, Kraken, then the Banshee. Actually, I think I would put the Kraken like higher than the Banshee, although they're very close. Just because little details on the Kraken with like the way the las guns stick out at the top of the sides, I really like that. That's a really cool little detail. So I feel like we're going Tartarus, Kraken, Banshee, but we do still have, after the Tartarus, there was also the Gargoyle Flamer walking tank. So, which actually just looks like the Kraken. And of course it does, because it's the same setup as Chimeras, where it's just the same chassis but with a different thing on it. Although I will say, the Flamer does look good. The Flamer does look good. I do like the Flamer a lot. It looks beefy, like really beefy. This thing doesn't look fast, but it does look menacing. Then again, actually, you know what? I don't know that the Flamer is beefy enough. If there's one thing that I'm not sure about on the Hellhound, it's how, like, I don't know. I always feel like it should have a bigger turret with a bigger Flamer, and I think the same thing is true here. Also, I would have really liked to see a big old barrel in here somewhere. Yeah, there's different like variations for the gun, but there's no variations for the back of it. And actually, I would really like to see like a big canister or something like not exposed, but just give it a bit more visual interest. It's still not bad. Don't get me wrong. I still quite like it because the chassis as a whole is great and the legs are brilliant. But I don't know. I feel like for a Hellhound proxy, I would have liked to have seen something that's got a bit more beef to it when it comes to the actual weapon system. If only to make up for the fact that these look distinctly not fast because of the legs, you know? Overall, I actually really like these. They are genuinely cool. They are really nicely done. Of course, the old paint job on them is helping because they are quite nicely painted. Some nice weathering and stuff going on. I mean, €50 isn't terrible. It's not like cheap. It's definitely not cheap, but it's not really any worse than most of Games Workshop's prices. And for for a full resin vehicle, like a 100% resin vehicle, €50 is cheaper than anything you'd pay on Forge World for an equivalent sized vehicle. Like, you're not going to find something of this size on Forge World for, like, effectively 50 quid. You're just not going to find anything like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you go to Forge World and you go for an alpha, a Mars Alpha pattern Lehman Russ, that has got plastic components, and that is still well over like 60, 70 quid. I forget which way round it is, but when I bought mine, I was amazed at how painful that purchase was. I only bought one, and that was to be the Tank Commander from my armor company, and that was massively expensive, and it was only a few resin pieces that went with the plastic tracks for the Lehman Russ, and I believe the plastic like bottom plate for the Lehman Russ, and the resin pieces don't even fit properly. I had to do some real faffing around and filling of gaps to make it acceptable. So, you know what, I'm going to say like €50 for something of this size is pretty damn reasonable, and it is a good looking series of tanks. But 100%, the Tartarus is my absolute favourite, and I want one, potentially three, but we'll start with one because that is quality. There you go. Absolutely loved the Tartarus. Desperately need one in my possession as soon as possible. Question is, what do you think of those vehicles? I'm a big fan, you can probably tell, but I'm really interested to see whether you like the kind of Chimera-esque design with the addition of the legs and sort of more kind of industrial riveting style stuff going on, or whether you prefer the original. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, videos, all that stuff. Subscribe if you want, that'd be nice, and I'll see you for the next one.